Hello, beautiful one. Hello, hello. So, I've received a lot of feedback in the last week or so via email. And one of the emails that came in, I would like to share here with you. Oh, and it's 1:11 my time as I'm reading this to you now. 111. Okay, let's see. All right, so this came in from one of our beautiful family here, an Acasma family of light. She is also a patron of mine, and she was in attendance with a class that I held on Saturday for the Patreon family. And this message came in that night. So she says, hello, beautiful afternoon, beautiful divine one. If you have a minute, I've been implementing the higher frequencies for a while now. To be honest, it is a very challenging task, and it is nice seeing the synchronicities of it being and very necessary for expansion. It feels amazing to know I am where I need to be. I bow with gratefulness to you, beautiful one. I hear your voice reminding me to, quote, keep to a higher frequency. And if you feel like you have the need to speak or tone, to do so. I was standing on the side of the house just a while ago and I spoke. I love you. And I raise my hands to our sky and I say, I offer gratitude from my heart. And I look up, I see spelled in the clouds, LOV. Took a second or two and the letter E formed. Spoken in a language, the sounds a bit Maori. This is not the first of this unknown language. When my mom passed in 2012, her best friend was with us towards her end, and she would pray and bless me in Hebrew as well as other languages. She then told me to speak as she noticed my head tilt back and looked as if I needed to say something. I did. And I know I was praising and letting go and inviting God into me. At that time, I was thinking of becoming a born-again Christian. I became a born-again Christian later in that year of my mom's passing. I know I was praying and worshiping, but when or if I tried to write it, I didn't know where to start, and confusion set it, asking myself, then was it real or my ego? At the present moment, as I type this to you, I am having the feeling of being hugged with lots of love, and it hasn't stopped yet. As I know I had a huge heart clearing 2 nights ago, I feel the expansion of my heart and the calmness, for I am so grateful. I also felt feelings in my solar plexus area and I allowed. I guess, question mark, is it possible to speak in tongues, light language, and not know its meaning at the time, nor not know how to write it? Is it, or was it my ego? I bow with gratefulness to you for your patience. Blessings to you, beautiful soul. This is a beautiful letter. And this is the kind of content that is sent to me. And how incredible is my life that this is the kind of content I receive. Yes, I'm so grateful. These types of conscious conversations, understandings of one's higher being, moving into the spaces of one's higher being and navigating. Truly magnificent. It's what consciousness is all about. We are here in any experience, wherever the here is, to expand, to remember who we are and expand. Expand means become all that you can be in every moment of your existence. The sacred senses, the gifts, the abilities, the inner knowings, the peace that passes all understanding, the kingdom of heaven being within. That is consciousness in its ever expanding form of wholeness. So this message is beautiful and goes into great detail of her experience that she had the year that her mother passed, transitioned into the next space of her being, and how she learned about and embraced Christianity, and how she had this experience of this language coming through her head tilting back which is fascinating to me because many of you know my work, and you can even look on the YouTube videos that I began putting out in the very beginning of the content coming out, where I'm in this room and the spheres of light, beings of light, collectives of light are all around me in the camera. I use no filters. I never, ever, ever, ever use a filter. And it's always raw footage. But you'll notice in those that I tilt my head back way, 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 way back. And it's an expansion and an opening of the throat center, the authenticity of the being expanding in the connectivity of the languages of the soul. And so I love that she even mentioned that the woman she was with noticed her tilting her head back and looking as if she needed to say something, and she did. And she began praising and letting go and inviting God into her. So my concept, and again, I was raised in the Christian church, and I do not discount any of the teachings, as in the teachings that were given from the purity of love one another. The greatest of these is love. The kingdom of heaven is within. If thine eye be light, thy whole body be light. I and the Father are one, and no one cometh unto the Father but by me, meaning though we are the body connected to the head space, if you will, the consciousness of the vibrational connection, that frequency that connects us into the God space, the origination point. And it is all connected, but it is the individual's conscious decision, if you will, to make the connection, to hold the connection, to allow the connection, to implement the connection in their lives daily, that truly opens up that connection to the I am within and the wholeness rising, and living from Christ consciousness, living from that which Christ spoke of and taught. And so I find it beautiful that this happened during the space in which her mother passed, because I'm sure that was a very, very difficult time for her emotionally, yet to have such a massive expansion of her spiritual being in her now being was, I'm sure, a blessing to her as she had to navigate that space of a physical loss. So she goes on and does have some questions. Is it possible to speak in tongues, in parentheses, she has light language, and not know its meaning at the time you're speaking it? Yes, it is possible. It happens all the time. Sometimes I believe what is happening is, as you do it, as you allow God's space to flood through you, your God space. You have all spaces of you. You have a physical space that's very carnal based. It's very flesh based. It's very earth based. It's very 3D based. That's a space of you, of all of us that are human. And then we have this spiritual base. And even Christ said, that which is born of flesh is flesh. That which is born of spirit is spirit. Marvel not, I say unto you, you must be born again. For me, the born again comes every time you choose spirit. Every time you choose your spirit, your connection to your God space, you are birthing yourself into a higher space of your consciousness. Your experiences are more aligned with God, that space in which you come from. That is your core. So is it possible to speak in tongues, light language, and not know its meaning? Yes, it is. And the more you allow it, the more the meanings begin to come through to you. It's just like any other thing we do, including languages. Even when we're learning a new language, like say your main natural, born language is English, but you want to learn French. So when you first begin learning French and speaking French, you can be iffy on a lot of spaces. But the more you practice it and put it into usage, yes, the more you allow yourself to speak it, the more you solidify spaces of it and the meanings in those spaces. So now when I speak, I will have many spaces that I understand, and you'll see my TikToks and my IGs and my YouTubes where I will touch certain spaces of my body and make certain symbols while I'm speaking, because I understand those spaces now. And I didn't understand them before. One of the very first spaces I ever understood was koeya. and I knew it had to do with the heart. I was saying koea, Daniana takawa, iana saoa, kea, 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 akoea. Even to just bring in a word, it opens up. So I just allow whatever's coming through to come through, as even I'm having this space with you now. So koea for me was the first one I knew was connected with the heart. And it also came with a symbol. I teach this symbol in Acasma, quantum energy, in my Master One course. And this is a very powerful symbol. And I teach its usage and why we do it and how we do it. And there are emotions that go with this. These are higher dimensional understandings coming in from my higher selves, which are spaces of me that I have now aligned with vibrationally and understood in connectivity, that I can allow that higher dimensional understandings to come through me and be given in this now. And it's my purpose. I am to share these spaces with all of humanity so that they may remember who they are. And that is exactly what my languages of my soul offer. They offer grounding frequencies that assist the human in grounding its roots, grounding its earth lines, so that it may open up to hold its self, its light, its consciousness, because every human is expanding. And as you expand, your energy is what is expanding. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your programs, your behaviors, your personalities. All of this is connected, but it is expanding and it's all energy. So in order to house it, hold it, anchor it, you have to have support in your roots, in your grounding mechanism, in your being to the earth. And that's what my work offers. So it is an ever expanding space, as you are an ever expanding being. And anytime I work with you, you work with my videos, you work with me in sessions or classes, it is always offering you the next space of you, as far as that being available to ground in, to anchor in you. Now, as you do this ever expanding you, and you allow your languages of light to come forth, and you don't judge them, and you hold no attachment, but you trust yourself and you lean in, you may not understand what you're saying. Very few do, but it's not for the mind. That's the key point here. If you remember nothing else from this video, it is not for the mind. Light language, speaking in tongues, soul messages, they're not for the mind. They're for the heart. They're for the heart. They're for your inner knowing. They're for your remembrance of your wholeness, for you to remember who you are. And when I speak any of the messages of my soul, any of the languages of my light, if you're on my TikTok, 50,000 plus now, thank you. I am deeply honored for that number. Thank you. My goal is to reach the world, so thank you. 50,000 people here. Yana saweya, taniana tagawa, tono dukoeya. And 50,000 people hear what they need to hear. They feel what they need to feel. They remember what they need to remember. And then they know what they need to know. That's what is so incredibly powerful about light language, about speaking in tongues, about soul messages. It is the language of God. It is the language of the soul. It is the language of the I am within. You could say it's the language of heaven. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. That's another video. So no, you do not need to understand it with the mind. You do not need to have to write it down. You do not need to have to explain it to anybody, because their soul will hear you. And if they can't hear you, because I do have a few now and then, very, very few, but they will come in and make a little joke or say, you know, they have no idea what that is. What? Their consciousness is not in a space vibrationally where it has opened to receive and understand that level of consciousness that my languages are at. But those who can hear will hear. Those who have ears to hear and eyes to see. Yes? So the question goes on and says, Okay, so if I'm not able to know what I'm saying and write it, is that the ego? No, it is not your ego. And I just explained why. It is because it is a higher vibrational space of connection that is speaking to the soul of that which it is speaking to. And if there's no one around and you're doing it, it's your soul speaking to your being. It's your God communication. It is God speaking. It is the Spirit of God speaking to you, you to you. And this is a very key factor in light language, soul messages, speaking in tongues. It's energy, and it's high energy. The level of energy that this is at is so high that it clears and expands and heals anything in its presence to the level of that which is for the greatest and highest good of all involved. So those that are ready for that healing, if they're in that presence in a group session, a one-on-one, a video, and they receive and they hear that message I share and the languages I speak from my soul, from my light, they will receive healing in their being on the level in which their consciousness would most benefit. Many, 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 many cry. They all tell me they cry. They are the most asked question is, why did I cry? And there are multiple spaces of why people cry. There is massive clearing because the energy is so high that it is offering such a high amount of love that the being immediately starts to heal and clear its energy spaces, releasing densities, fears, judgments, shame, guilt. Then in addition to that, for many, it is just the fact that it is such a high vibrational space. It is a remembrance of love. That's the biggest reason people cry. When they hear my light language, when they are in the presence of this energy work, Acasma quantum energy, they are remembering themselves within God. They are remembering themselves within love. They are feeling like they have made it home. They are feeling heard, seen, loved. And that vibration emanates through their entire being. And the emotions can be huge. But if you can trust and allow and lean in and just be still with them, lay down, sit down, allow the tears, allow your voice. If your voice is moving into its own languages, Rakanea nataua kea, Aria natawawa, Hasene yanatakeya, Yane takeya, Taoa, Nene nanauakea. Just whatever it is. I chose to allow that space. I chose to lean into it. I chose not to judge it. And I chose to just start and just following the rhythm of whatever was coming up. It can be tones. Yarata saneana taua kea. Yarata saneana taua kea. Kea, 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 kea. The vibration in my body rises. That's why I breathe like that. My breath is accommodating the higher energy. And my speech shifts a bit because my body is accommodating the higher energy. present in my being. And just making those tones, their vibration and what is energetically within that vibration is of higher dimensional connectivity, connection, and it is powerful. And so it is shifting my body as I'm doing it, healing, shifting, clearing, aligning, expanding my space. And any who come into this recorded connection with ears to hear, eyes to see, eyes to see, and they receive accordingly. The biggest illusion is on almost anything that we begin to lean into and trust ourselves about, any aspect of our lives. I want to become a singer. I want to become a dancer. I want to become a doctor. I want to become a lawyer. I want to become a teacher. I want to become an energy healer. I want to become a medium. I want to be whatever it is. When we begin to step out and we begin to do well and we begin to open up, we always do that. We always judge the space and ask, is it my ego? Is it real? Is this the best space? Am I making the right decision? Will I be judged because I stepped out of what I was and became what I am? And there's so many spaces of this. But if you will allow yourself a moment with those, I think you can find the commonality between them all is a vibration of fear. There's a vibration of fear in every one of those questions. Listen to your hearts, trust yourselves and lean in and allow your higher vibrational being to be present in your now. I'm not going to go long because I know we've been on here for a little bit, but I'll do more to follow. But for far too long in human history, the human has been programmed, completely programmed by societal structure, education, religion, politics, media, movies, music, programming repetitively to keep you in a space where you do not understand you. And everything that you think is going to help you, you see it as being outside of you, and you have to find it and get it and obtain it. And that's going to make you happy and fulfilled. It's within. The bottom line is, if you are speaking your languages of light, your soul messages, or speaking in tongues, you could be a Christian who is experiencing these spaces after worship service on Sunday or Wednesday night, or whenever your church services are, and you are experiencing the Spirit of the Lord, the Holy Spirit speaking through you, your being, because you are never separate from God. You are never separate from God. That is part of the illusion. And that is and has been put in play for a purpose of control through fear. And that was not what Christ intended. Christ intended full unity. Full unity. And if you're experiencing languages of light, soul messages coming through, maybe you're a medium, maybe you're an energy healer, maybe you're just a beautiful human being who is opening up to more spaces of themselves, and they know there's more to this picture, they know there's more to this whole space, and you have this language coming through, maybe a phrase, maybe a tone, maybe a word. Trust yourself. Have fun with it. Lean in, be you. Move your energy, expand your being, nurture your body and your being on all levels. Yarata sanea na taua, kea nea na wasayeya, nasawayeya. Any who would just prefer this information, thank you for watching. I'm going to offer an activation to any who feel like they'd want some assistance in expanding and or opening, maybe for the first time, their languages of light. So any who feel aligned with this, please feel free to receive this as my gift with complete gratitude for you and for all that you are.